We'll just break it down a little bit. We'll just get started. So, what you're going to need are 2 sheets. You should have that, and you should have a blue sticky. So if you don't have a blue sticky, hopefully there's some extra. And if you don't have extra of these, they should be around here somewhere. Okay. So, today we are going to be talking about the 80-20 rule. So last month, we were talking about the commit to self-mastery and where the 6 perspectives came from. I think it was like Gary Keller was noticing like what top producers were doing, and he wanted to help all agents. And so they did the study and they watched the behaviors of what these agents were doing and realized that most of the top producers were doing the same. They had the same habits. So they broke that all down into 6 steps. So we're on step 2, and that's the 80-20 rule. So I feel like I'm kind of a mess over here. Oh my gosh. So our goal today is to understand what the 80-20 rule is. And then once we identify what that is, we will figure out what our most valuable 20% is. So all this boils down to a guy with the last name of Pareto had this idea, and we'll get to that. But before we do that, let's okay. Oh my gosh. This is a disaster without my slides. Oh my gosh. Okay. So first, let's go here. Let's learn about this. So it says, in the 1940s, quality control manager Dr. Joseph M. Jurin documented a life-changing universal principle that he called the vital few and trivial many. The idea was that a relatively small percentage of your efforts lead to the vast majority of your results. He attributed some of his findings to the statistical work of the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, who had observed that 80% of the wealth in this country was owned by 20% of the population. As fate would have it, that broadly embraced principle came to be known not as Jurin's law, but as Pareto's principle. These days, we call it the 80-20 principle. So the idea is that 20% of your actions lead to 80% of your results. This might be one of the most powerful principles that you ever learn, right? And we need to learn how to apply that into our lives. So what I want you to do right now, well, before we get there, before we get to the sticky, let's talk about what are 20% of the thing, like what, so remember, 20% of our action, right, leads to 80% of our results. So as realtors, what can we do? What are some things that we can put into our 20% bucket that would give us the most results? Lead gen, okay. So can I have someone come write these down while everybody's like, that way I can give my slides to Dean. Okay, so we got lead gen. What else? Prospecting. Anyone else? What are some other things? Appointments. Anything else? What else can we do? Come on, high producers in this room. What are some things that you do that's on your 20% that give you the most results? Yes, I think that works. Writing and negotiating contracts. Okay, I love this. So lead gen, prospecting, appointments, negotiate and write contracts, developing relationships, some education there. Okay, so looking at this list, how many of you do this every day? How many of you guys put priority on these tasks? I know, that's a hard question even for me, because we want to let the distractions get in the way, right? We want to do the easy things first. But, okay, now where's the clicker? Did I lose that? Oh, here we go. Okay, we got this, people. Okay, so we all need to do a deep breath together. Okay, so let's jump forward. All right, so There is truth in predictable imbalance in life. We've already discussed it. It's called the 80-20 rule. Here is what we're going to watch this if we can. Can somebody click that? So most realtors in a week, you can see those chops. This is what Elon Musk, I guess, can do in a week. He can do all these fancy things, right? But most agents, they think that their super productive week is that they're caught up on email and they've called 10 people. So we're going to skip this forward. We've already read the quote. You guys were jumping all ahead. Oh my gosh. All right. So who can tell me the analogy of the big rocks? Is there an extra mic around? Cam, tell us the analogy.
So if you were to put all the sand in the jar first, there would never be enough room for the big rocks. They spill over and you just can't quite fit them all on, I think, which is on that left side. If you put the big rocks in first, the sand kind of filters its way down around the rocks and then it all fits perfectly in the jar.
So what we're going to be focusing today is on those big rocks, right? That 20%. So big rocks, 20%. What does that look like for me? So you have a worksheet and you also have a blue sticky. So what I want you to do is on that blue sticky, I want you to write down one thing that you did in the last couple of months that has brought you the biggest result. One thing. Can you think of just one thing you did in the last couple of months that brought you a huge result right now or in this month? And then when you have that done, then come stick it up here or pass it to the end and somebody will grab them and stick them up here. Okay, so some of the things that people wrote, they said, I spoke with a stranger and it resulted in a listing. Nice, good, okay. I texted people. I made contacts. I asked the right questions to potential clients. I made a phone call. I marketed to my SOI. I had a client event. So here's a bunch of ideas, guys. If you can't think of things that are part of that 20%, then start writing some notes and adding some of these things that you can add to that 20%. Communication. I actually called my SOI. Yeah. And sometimes for me, like I find events are a great way to reach out to that SOI because it's like I don't have to sell them anything. I'm just inviting them and I'm offering them to come, have something of value. And it's such an easy way to reach out. And when I do that, oftentimes it results in more business, right? I remember Susie and I did a movie night in the fall, and so many people at the end were like, oh, we need to talk as soon as January happens because I need to list my house this year. And from that one event, I probably got 5 clients. So events are worth it. Let's see, what are some other things that people said? Oh, somebody had a cookies and cocoa event. Now I'm going to read yours. Somebody did a listening appointment. Let's see, reaching out to SOI and followed up on the leads. Okay, so now on your piece of paper, you should have this worksheet. I want you to think about everything that you do in a day. So maybe not today because we haven't hit all the, what did you do yesterday? Write down everything that you did yesterday on this sheet. So yesterday I had a list of 20% things that I kept pushing off all day long. I didn't get to any of it because all these other things started getting in the way, these distractions, right? And so now I'm on Tuesday and I have the same list I have yesterday I have to complete that I'm going to get to this afternoon. I'm promising, I'm committing you to you that I'm going to do that. But so what are the things that you did yesterday? And I really want you to make this as inclusive as possible. Think about everything, like even the little things that maybe took up time that you didn't need to do. And then what I want you to do is I want you to look at that list and I want you to write, you can either break it into 2 columns at the bottom on step 2, or you can on the top section, just right next to it. This is worth $500 an hour, so put 500. If it's a $500 an hour activity, write 500. If it's a $10 an hour activity, write $10. So out of that big list that you did yesterday, how many of those items were $500 items? $500 an hour work. So looking at this list of tasks that you did yesterday, which ones could you eliminate or delegate? I'm guessing the $10 an hour ones, right? And this is a problem for me too. In fact, I was like, oh my gosh, Shoni asked me to teach this class because I needed this most of all. It's like he just knew. His spidey senses were going off. So those $500 an hour activities, that's your 20% effort, right? That's your big rock. So like Cameron said, in that jar, if we were to start with the sand or the water, and then we try to put the mini pebbles in, and then we put the rocks, we're never going to fit everything into that jar. But if we can tackle those big rocks first, put them in the jar, then fill it all around, so much more can be accomplished in one day. This principle works not just in our real estate, but it works like it's a universal principle. If you start paying attention and noticing, you'll notice that 20% of the real estate work, 80% of the real estate work is done by 20% of agents, right? So what can you do to start doing the big rocks to get into the 20% if we flip it? All right. So this is just your own little evaluation. Focus on your high value tasks, delegate or eliminate the rest. So those ones that you labeled $500, keep doing more of that, right? Okay, so we're actually going to take this idea, the 20%, and we're actually going to even break it down even more. So we're going to take this extreme Pareto. And what they mean by this is, we're going to read another excerpt from the one thing. So identify your 20% and then go smaller by finding the vital few of the vital few. So the one thing excerpt. So it says, while to-do lists serve as a useful collection of our best intentions, they also tyrannize us with trivial, unimportant stuff that we feel obligated to get done because it's on our list. Achievers operate differently. They have an eye for the essential. Left in its raw state as simple inventory, a to-do list can easily lead you astray. The first thing on your list is just the first thing you thought of. To-do lists inherently lack the intent of success. Long hours spent checking off a to-do list and ending the day with a full trash can and a clear desk have nothing to do with success. Instead of a to-do list, you need a success list. A list that is purposefully created around extraordinary results. To-do lists tend to be long, success lists are short. One pulls you in all directions, the other aims you in a specific direction. If your to-do list contains everything, then it is probably taking you everywhere but where you really want to go. So this is the idea of a success list, not a to-do list. Now, I like sticky notes. I like lists. I have sticky notes everywhere, things I need to do, right? But sometimes that might be just like little notes that I'm just keeping track. But really what we need to do is think of, if we look at our 411 sheet, that is also one of your worksheets. So you want to think of this in terms of like goal setting, kind of like, right? What's your big goal for the year? What can you do monthly for that big goal? And then how can we break it down weekly and then daily to work on that one thing? So today we're talking about not just the 80-20 rule, but what's the one thing that you can do today and the one thing that you can do tomorrow that will lead you closer to your end goal, or whatever that is. So you can take a minute and you can brainstorm a couple of goals, decide which one that you want to do. If you haven't already, maybe you already have your goal for the year. I hope you do. It's February. so, what's your goal? What's your big goal for the year? And how are you going to accomplish that? So this one was, this person wants to run a marathon and they're listing all the things in here. I'm going to work on a diet and plan. I'm going to work on hydration and a plan. I'm going to select strength program. I'm going to select running regimen, find a compatible running group. Okay, so which one of those things can they do that will bring him, kind of encompass all of it and bring him one step closer? Select the running regimen. Okay, now it breaks it down. Then out of those, what are we doing? Oh, we're time block training schedule. Okay, now what are we doing? We're going to coordinate with an experienced running partner or coach. And if they do that, they're going to reach their goal of running their marathon. So what is your goal within your business this year? And we don't have to do all of this today, obviously, but if you haven't, start breaking down that list, your success list, to help you find the one thing that you can do per day to help you achieve that goal. So if you have a goal already, you can already write that down. You'll want to list as many things that you can think of that you're doing that could help you make that goal a reality. So what if your goal this year is just to make $100,000 in real estate? What would that look like? What are the things that you have to do to make $100,000 in real estate? Write down that list. From that list, create the success list by circling only the tasks that are going to give you the most impact on your goal. So what would some of those tasks be? Probably some of these, right, that we're talking about. And then breaking it down even more, can you identify the one thing that you can do such that by doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary? So specifically with this 411 action goal sheet, you're going to set weekly goals that correspond to a larger monthly goal that correspond to your larger annual goal, right? So whatever that goal is that you choose, this is like, I know some agents in our office who use this religiously. Like Peter Morkel, he should be here to tell us all about the 411. This is his life. He lives by this. He has his goal for the year. He breaks that down into monthly. What does he need to do monthly? What's the success list to help him there? And then weekly, what does he need to be doing to get that larger goal? Make sure weekly goals are a success list, not a to-do list. So if we're saying on our list of things, and I know, like for me, I don't know, I saw Kevin, he posted something about ADHD, and I am like undiagnosed, but I believe I am. Susie and I are over here, we're like, I have ADHD. No, I really truly believe we all do. All of us who are in this business probably do, because we have to be doing a bajillion things all at the same time, right? And anyway, but he was saying that for his brain and how it works, like he would write down his list, and sometimes for some of us, maybe doing some of the tasks to help us like get into the groove to get to the big rock is what we need to do. But we just want to be careful on what we're choosing. We still want those to be high productive activities, right? So for me, sometimes like that's the scary big rock. I need to do these two things, and then I'm going to word myself to get to this one. So yeah, like don't make this like crazy hard on yourself, right? Play a game with it. Have fun with it. Plan weekly goals or activities no more than 1 week in advance to allow for a change in direction if needed. And I find that in my own life and my own schedule, I'm like living a week before. I'm filling up my schedule for the next week. If you ask me if we have room to go to lunch next week, probably not, but I do have the next week, and it fills up religiously every week before the next week. So we're planning 2 weeks out now. Set annual goals that can realistically be accomplished in a 12-month time period. So if you've never made $100,000 a year before and that's your goal this year, like that is achievable. You can do it, right? If you said, I've made $100,000 this year, now I want to double that, like what do you got to do to double that, right? And I'm just using money ones because that's an easy one to, maybe that's not your goal. Okay, so here's what it would look like. Here's a sample mega agent of, and I printed off the one that has the 4 different areas of life. So my husband and I, if you don't know Ben, he's my husband. We do this annual thing, and they have a couples retreat. KW puts it on, or the One Thing puts it on. Someone in KW does, and you can go to Austin, Texas. I think Becca did it one year. I think maybe, I don't know, a few people in our office have, but they used to have like a PDF printable. I can't find it online anymore, but I still have it if you want it. And we go and we do a planning session together, and we look at, in that, there's actually 7, but here I love that it's the 4 main ones: your job, your business, your personal financial, and your personal. So we sit down, we look at the beginning of the year, these main aspects and areas of our life, what we want to happen this year. And then we break it down. We do exactly this at our goal settings, and we look at each category of our lives. I think you can add on, of the 7, it's like spiritual, family, and I think physical. Thank you. Spiritual, family, and physical you can add on to have your 7. So we do this every January, and then we do another one in July where we see, okay, here we are, it's July. Let's look at what we planned in January. How is this? Are we on track? You know, how do we feel about our goals? Is there anything that we need to change or adjust? So here in their job, let's see, they have 24 listings sold, 16 buyer sales. So it's not just, I mean, you can put down your money goal, 100,000, but what do you need to make 100,000? How many listings would that be? How many buyers would that be? Break that down. And then break it down into your monthly and then weekly. What are the daily things that you can do, or 20%, that will lead to the biggest results? Okay, so each one of you has your own 411, and I challenge you, if you haven't filled one of these out, use it, and you'll get the slides, so you'll see examples of how this works more closely, or you can use that as an example when you're filling yours out. Okay, so time blocking. The truth is that people think there is never enough time to be successful, but there is when you time block it. So another thing that you can do is on the back, I kind of have like a step 4 of your worksheet, and it just has like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And really, I would look at, get a daily calendar that's like 8 a.m. to whatever. And you just really need to look at this 20% and look at where you can put that in your calendar every single day. And that's non-negotiable time. There's certain things in my life that are non-negotiable. And that's like if my daughter has a soccer game, I put that in as a non-negotiable, right? And those are fun and easy. And sometimes they're really hard to get to because business gets in the way. But I'm like, nope, that's a non-negotiable. Okay, so what are the non-negotiable? That's easy because that's personal. That's like my daughter. I'm not going to miss her game, right? Or I'm not going to miss her dance competition. Like that is high priority to me. So what is high priority in your business that you're not going to miss? That 20%. Put it into your calendar and block it out every day. So making the calls don't have to be calls all the time, right? You could do texts. Like I send a text out every day to my sphere. I send out a text to like 10 people a day. And I'm not even asking them about business. I'm just saying, hey, how are you? Haven't talked to you in a while. What's up? Let them respond. We start up this conversation, and pretty soon they're saying, hey, what's going on with you? How's the business? Oh, funny you ask. But really, I'm just being a good friend. And that's really like, put that into your time blocking. Texting 10 people a day in your phone list, your phone. Okay. So for this last little thing, where's my sheet? I need to remember what all this means. Sorry. Okay, so basically we are going to protect our calendar, right? So we want to be consistent enough to set a habit, be thoughtful and purposeful about the items you list on your calendar, always time block for the big blocks first, your 20%. And then if you have to erase something, you have to replace it with something else. So you want to protect this like it's a bunker. Like you're going to war, I guess. You're going to build a bunker. So find somewhere to work that takes you out of the path of disruption and distraction. For me, I have to have an office here. I cannot work in the same place with my husband. I love him and we do work together, but he's got to have his own space and I got to have my own, and that's over here and he can be over there. We can't even have an office next door to each other. I hear his voice and I'm like, shh. I love him. But yeah, so he like built his man cave dream office in the basement, and I come over here every day to my office so I can have my space and so I can be free of the distractions. And he's a distraction to me, so I gotta separate. Separate that space. Okay, so find somewhere where you can work. So that's your build a bunker. Store provisions. Okay, have the supplies, snacks, and beverages you need on hand to avoid leaving your bunker. Because, like, have any of you guys, I mean, I do lunches a lot, but I find my lunches end up taking half my day. So, so we have to be careful of our time. So some days when you're like, hey, this is gonna be a work day and I'm gonna do all those things in my, that I've blocked out in my calendar, have supplies, snacks, and beverages that you need on hand. The only reason you need to leave that bunker is to go to the bathroom, and you're going right back. Okay, sweep for minds. Turn off your phone, shut down your email, and exit your internet browser. The important work deserves 100% of your time. So I may not shut mine off, but oftentimes on my desk, I just turn it over so I can't see, any texts that pop up. Because as soon as I see a text pop up, I'm like, I gotta go look at it. Yeah, squirrel. That's the word. And then the last thing is enlist support. So tell those most likely to seek you out what you're doing and when you'll be available. They will be accommodating when they see the big picture and know when they can access you. Remember, the general public, they don't know what your goals and priorities are. You have to put that into your calendar and set those goals and priorities for yourself. And then when you do that, and you have specific times when you can meet with people, it will fill in. I promise you it will. Like even when I first got into real estate and I had young kids at the time, like most of my kids are all young adults now. But I was very nervous about like setting those times for the games, right? Or the different things. I was like, oh my heck, if I block this out, then what if somebody calls me and I need to go and help them? Once I prioritized that aspect of my life, all the other times when I had open, they just filled right into those spaces. So you get to be in charge of your life and you get to be in charge of your schedule. So put in those high priority things and then fill the rest in with all the rest. So any questions or ahas or anything? The 411. The 411 is located in KW. Oh shoot. We have that login with KW. It's just on there? Oh, it's on rkwwestfield.com. I thought we had to go to the KW website and log in, like by the KW University stuff, but it's on the website for our very own brokerage. Any other questions or ahas? Thank you so much. Go do your 20%.